Welcome to another edition of Pants Optional. It's Pop Code HQ's Zoom interview segment where we interview comic book creators about their latest project and get the lowdown, but from the waist up. My name is Jason Bennett, chief editor of Pop Code HQ, and I'm against picketing, but I don't know how to express it. Today, I have the privilege of being joined by the writer and creator of such sci-fi comic book hits as Eclipse and Port of Earth at Image Comics and Top Cow Productions. He also wrote Lost City Explorers at AfterShock Comics. His recent project, also found a home at AfterShock, is Join the Future, which will have its whole collected series into a trade paperback this coming January 6th and in bookstores 2 weeks later in January 20th. Please welcome to the show, Zack Kaplan. Zack.
Hi, how's everybody doing?
Hey, good. How you doing, man?
Good.
I think the last time I ran into you was end of September last year, Rose City Comic Con.
That would be it. Back in the world of conventions and going outside. Yes.
Pre-apocalypse, yeah. But how are things going with you and your family and everyone staying safe and healthy?
We're in Los Angeles and we're staying healthy, staying safe, and just biding our time, counting down the days until this year's over, and hoping for better days tomorrow. So
hey, one day at a time, man.
Right.
We're all getting there.
We all
hey. So let's talk about your series Join the Future. I believe we did a review of issue number 1. I never got a chance to go back and look. I read back through all 5 issues. Your story has terrific pacing. That was one of the first things I noticed with it. All throughout, there's no fluff in there, and there's nothing dragging on it. It moves at a great pace, and it's just full of just meat the whole way, and just striking and intense illustrations at times too. Features a strong young female lead who is resisting the city of the future for the simpler life that she's come to know, and as well as fighting for the honor and memory of and seeking justice for the death of her brother and father. In developing this sci-fi western that you have, how did a teenage girl rise to become this symbol of fighting for what's right and protecting what's most valuable?
It's a good question. I think it started with the stage. That I was perceiving a world where we were seeing the ongoing trend of small towns and rural communities in America continuing to lose population and decline. And I mean, this may all get reversed in the real world, but I just kind of wondered what would happen in the future. We always see sci-fi future stories where there are mega cities or massive futuristic cities. What if that was at the expense of small towns? And America was really built on small towns. It's very interesting that sometimes I think people wonder if this book is political in nature, but I tend to think of the small town as not red state or blue state. I tend to think of it as just very kind of an American thing. I grew up in a small town 20 years ago in Iowa, in cornfields and all. It was very Spielbergian. And so I kind of wondered what would happen if we saw that decline and the juxtaposition of big cities that wanted population and wanted to pressure people to give up the self-sufficient, independent small town life for a more high-tech, cooperative or collective kind of existence. And so once that stage was set, I also looked at a lot of Westerns and kind of, it was very much a plotline that we've all kind of seen, which is the railroad or the cattle barons are coming through and they say to the small town, it's time for you to move, and there's resistance. But I knew that I didn't want to tell the story from a grown-up point of view. I wanted to tell the story from a younger person's point of view. I thought that was very interesting. I thought it was really interesting to do it from a young woman's point of view. Clementine is, I don't know that we ever get her age exactly. I mean, she's anywhere from 17 to 20. She's still a teenager, and it just I think making her an adolescent made her less sure of her place in the world, and it made it more challenging for her to go up against the city, because when you're young, you're finding your way in the world. You don't yet know which way you're going, and so that made her future, her path, more uncertain. And I found that more dramatic, um, and more interesting. So setting the stage and exploring, um, I mean, the other thing is she grows up in this real sheltered small town, sheltered only because they're resisting technology, they're resisting the future. And once this tragedy happens, her small town is attacked, she loses her family members. She has a tremendous amount of personal exploration that she needs to do. I mean, what is it wrong to use technology? What does she do when she wants to get revenge? What is her place in the world? So I found that very interesting. I don't think that story would have worked either for an older character. They would have been more sure of their beliefs and less.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I noticed too, I think it was in the first issue, her brother with an iPod, and it was instantly made clear that we don't allow that here. Don't let dad let you see have that there was that distinction, that they didn't want that life forced upon them, and possibly taking away their civil liberties and what they've come to know as freedom. Um, and Join the Future really has more of a unique take on a dystopian future where, other than what maybe some people might come to expect, where it's not the cold, bleak, post-apocalyptic, scenario, but rather one looking at what the advancements in technology could create in the future for leaders, but at the price of losing everything you've known, and the cost of your true freedom. Do you find areas in technological advancements that could take us down a similar path? And would it be the advancements themselves opening that door, or would it be the people who could abuse them?
Well, first off, I mean, I find this already happening. I think we're all actually aware of it, which is, I mean, technology is already changing the way we live, and we don't even realize it until it's pointed out to us or it's too late. So, I mean, you think about the way we communicate, how many devices we use, our attention span,
What we're doing now.
how we communicate with people. And I think about when I was growing up in a small town, I ran next door, and we were kids running all around the neighborhood. Just, there was no screen time. And so there's all sorts of ways that technology has affected us. I mean, there's one great moment in the story that I really enjoyed writing, which was Clementine meets a mentor of sorts who kind of helps her. He's just known as the trader, because he trades technology, trades, everything's very transactional in his world as a survivalist. And they're talking about what the city's like, and she's only been told horror stories about what the city is like. So she's asking him, what is it like? And it turns out that it's not as evil. It's just different. But he basically says that, it's just that you don't have certain things anymore, and you don't realize that you don't have them, because you just, it's like seeing the stars. We can't see the stars in a big city. You can only see those out in the countryside, but you don't know that they're missing because you can't see them. And so I think there's all sorts of little small things that our lives have changed, that we've lost, that we don't know we're missing. There's also tremendous promise and hope and good that comes from technology. I think that it's not one or the other, but I do think things are lost, and I do think that that's possible, that as technology continues to permeate our lives and urbanization continues to permeate our lives, that you can have more and more breakdown and things that could negatively affect us. I think it's also just about choice. Ultimately, I think that it's interesting to think about choices that we have and the choices that we don't really have. I mean, I think maybe 10 years ago, you could kind of choose how much technology entered your life. I remember back in the day, there were people who would be like, I don't want a cell phone, or I don't want email. And, you know, I don't know that you can be, I mean, maybe there are people who still, but it becomes harder and harder to engage in finding jobs, communicating with your bank, connecting with other people, unless you embrace these certain things. And so it's a very interesting element to me. And I think that cities, you know, we portray the city with lots of social programs in terms of like universal basic income and housing advantages. But I think to me, it wasn't so much about uh, policies as much as a lack of self-sufficiency, you know, that people perhaps, when you're in a small town, you have to invariably do more for yourself. Yeah, I guess that to sum it all up, I do think that technology can bring a certain level of loss or manipulation. And you know, this year alone has been a very surprising year. Things have happened in our society that we would have never expected. And so that's the fun thing about writing science fiction and dystopian fiction, because it all that's happening right before our eyes. So God knows what will happen in years to come.
Who would have thought a year ago that most places would offer curbside pickup?
Yes.
Never even heard of it a year ago, you know, except maybe at a restaurant or something. And now it's, you can do that anywhere. Or a lot of people making that transition into online sales, or even conventions now going to virtual events, just to, you know, change with the times, and embrace the technology that's at hand to be able to keep moving forward.
Yeah. So yeah, we had a lot of fun enjoying that kind of, and I like to write. I think anyone who's read my work will find that I don't really like to be as preachy as much as to bring up questions and kind of say, what could there be a situation where technology alters our life in a negative way? And more so, I think, what if you didn't have the choice? Because that's really, it's not so much that the people in the city are miserable or they're being tricked or they're being manipulated. It's that Clementine and her community wants to remain in the small town lifestyle, and they're finding difficulty doing that. They're finding pressure, and then of course they're even attacked and killed to force their hand. And so that's really, you know, this is not really so much about one world or the other, but the friction between the two raises all sorts of interesting questions.
Sure, and that really comes across well in this book, which, like I said, it's beautiful cover to cover. Your creative team really did a number on this project. If I'd like to shout out each member of your creator team on Join the Future, and as I mentioned each one, I'd like you to give me your take on what it's like working with them on this book, as well as something that stands out to you for each as to their contributions to the look and feel of Join the Future. All right.
Yeah.
So on illustrations, you're teamed up with Peter Kowalski.
Yes, he's an amazing artist. The level of passion and detail he brings is really unbelievable. I mean, some of the double page spreads or the splash pages, they're so intricate and there's so much world building that goes into it. I mean, I saw his work on Bloodborne. Is that the name of the game adaptation in the comic? But yeah, it's so good. And then one thing that was one of the reasons that I reached out to work with him, but I was really impressed with his character storytelling. I mean, Clementine really, to me, comes to life, and I feel her emotion, I feel her turmoil. And so, you know, he really is, from big worlds to small character moments, an incredible artist.
Yeah, wonderful addition to the team. Color work, you're done by Brad Simpson, 20 Eyes Brad.
Yeah, one of the best in the game right now, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, and you can see it from the variety of work that he does in all these different comics. But even in Join the Future, I mean, he's being asked to do this sleek futuristic city, and then the earthy, small town kind of vibe. And there's all sorts of different set pieces. We've got these massive machines that are terraforming the landscape, and he brings out all sorts of reds and blacks and very like hellish kind of landscape. There's some cities that have been completely terraformed and left unfinished, and he has this kind of like post-apocalyptic jungle overgrown into the cities. It's just amazing color work, really incredible.
Yeah, and the terraforming were just some incredible visuals. There was a couple of times, I think one time Clementine was watching it, and I think another time it might have been the sheriff, and I just kept watching, just seeing how massive and detailed it was. I was like, how are they standing so close to that thing? That thing looks like it's going to envelop them, but obviously, they understand the path of it and stuff.
Yes,
Beautiful visuals.
yes.
And on letters, you have Haas. You have
Yeah.
Hassan Atsmain Elhau.
Yeah, he's incredible. One thing I was really struck by is his creativity. He really finds a lot of ways to, there are a lot of great letters that can guide the eye, but when it comes to a sound effect or something, he's putting splashes through the hose, and so you've got like a hose spraying water, and he'll put the letters in and out of like it's weaving through the letters. Just very creative ways to turn the letters into art. And that was really impressive. And he's also Eisner nominated, extremely prolific letterer. So I got spoiled rotten on this book, and I'm very happy about it.
I know what you're saying with Hassan. There was a moment where I saw go from one panel to the next. I think the two panels are probably the same size, but I believe it was Clementine's father talking, or maybe the trader. One of those two. It was the scene like that, and he was speaking, and then it went to more cut to just Clementine, but the panel connected, the word dialogues connected, but through the panel almost. Yeah. And it was done in a really interesting way, and it's like, wow, that really looks sharp. I like, it's just something that stood out to me, and then I looked and saw who was lettering your book, and I'm like, well, there you go.
Yes, yeah, they all did an amazing job. I'm extremely proud of not just the storytelling in the art, but just the artistry. Really incredible.
Lovely. It's a lovely book. Everyone's going to just love holding this in their hands, and it's available for pre-order now. We're going to include that here, throw on the graphic here, the diamond order code you can use now. Pre-ordering is essential to this industry. It's not only does it secure fans with a copy of the book, get yourself your copy, but it's incredibly important to local comic shops to know which books to carry, which the popularity of certain titles, things like that. And also along those lines, if people pre-order the book, maybe incentive to show the publisher, in this case AfterShock, that there's great interest and they want to see more join the future, possibly a second volume. Does that sound about right?
Absolutely right. And I initially went into this. This was a 5-issue miniseries. It has done very well, but it has been hard to assess during the pandemic, the general book market. So absolutely, the publisher will be looking, and we'll all be looking at how the trade does, and it could absolutely be an incentive to do more. I would certainly love to tell more of her stories. So yeah. If you're out there and you've read the first issue or whatever, please pre-order the trade.
Definitely, and there seems like there's a lot more to tell with not only the way the series ends, but there seems like there's a lot more that I know I was curious on some things that but time will tell, and we're hoping for a second volume.
When people first read it, they really want to see the city. And, I wanted to show off the city too, more than just the promo, but it really wasn't the story at hand. It really was about Clementine defending her home and her, and getting revenge against these small towns. So I definitely think that seeing the city and seeing the futuristic side of things would be a great way to expand the story. But that absolutely would be for the next volume. So
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed for you and your team that maybe we will see that one day. So, hey, before we wrap up here, now's the time of segment we call Pitch Your Project. Give you a minute or two to reach out to fans on why they should pre-order Join the Future and a little bit about what it is.
yeah,
Draw those new readers in.
join
Pitch
the
Your Project.
Yeah, Join the Future is a sci-fi western in a very grounded kind of way about the decline of small towns in America and the rise of futuristic megacities and the conflict between these two worlds. And the megacities want small town citizens to move, and the small town citizens want to hold on to their independence. And this conflict brings a young woman, Clementine Libby's world, crashing down, and she is forced to ask herself what her principles are, what her future holds, and ends up fighting for her very freedom. And it's a really moving, heartfelt story, very classic Western, lots of fun sci-fi, and we can't wait for you guys to check it out.
Awesome. Anything else you have coming up or anything else you'd like to plug that we should be on the look for?
I'm hoping for a very busy 2021, but nothing as of yet. But
okay. All right. Well, definitely 2021 is going to kick off wonderfully. Get your pre-orders in now for Join the Future, the trade paperback collecting issues 1 through 5. It's available for pre-order now and scheduled to be released in comic book shops on January 6th. Makes a great Christmas gift.
Yeah.
And they'll be in bookstores 13 days later on Tuesday, January 20th. Thank you so much, Zach, for being on the show.
Thank you, Jason. Always a pleasure.
Definitely. And wish you all the best and Happy New Year to you.
Happy holidays, everyone out there.